Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. At their meeting on November 18th, the Richland Bean Blossom School Board heard a consideration from Superintendent Dr. Jerry Sanders to approve stipends for teachers, administrators, and support staff across the district.
Looking at where we are as a school corporation financially and what can we do to reward people for their hard work, but at the same time put ourselves in a good position financially to give increases down the road in terms of for the teachers step on the salary schedule or increase the base, hourly increases. We want to get ourselves into a position where we could do that.
Sanders said teachers and administrators will receive a $2,000 one-time stipend, and support staff will receive a stipend based on their current pay, duties assigned, and number of days worked.
The purpose of going the stipend route this year is to put ourselves in a really good, strong position financially to move forward in giving increases like we traditionally have in the past.
These stipends were approved unanimously. The board then heard a request from Sanders to shorten the school calendar from 185 teacher days to 183.
With the course of state coming in and causing us some financial issues, we're looking for ways to cut back on our expenses. And so that'll save, going from 185 days to 183 will save us $130,000 a year.
So they get 2 more days off, but they lose those days in pay.
He recognized how often teachers work into the evenings, on weekends, and part of the summer.
It was kind of my goal to try to address that. I'm disappointed that we're to this point, but it just seemed like a way that we could reduce some expenses without hurting people too much.
The shortened school year was approved. The Monroe County Public Library Board of Trustees met on November 20th, where they reviewed the benefits offered to library employees. Human Resources Director Becky Throckmorton explained the benefits that the library provides, such as health, dental, life, and disability insurance. This year, insurance rate increases will cost the library an additional $79,000 for health insurance and $3,500 for dental.
All of the rates go up just a little bit, and for our staff, it means a $10 to $15 per paycheck increase on one of our most expensive plans for their out-of-pocket cost. So trying to keep things affordable for folks.
The board approved the new benefits plan. Next, Outreach Services Manager Chris Jackson gave an update on the Bookmobile, saying the current vehicle is 15 years old, so it's nearing the end of its life.
We have a 15-year-old Bookmobile that is slowly, and actually not so slowly anymore, dying. The Bookmobile has been in the shop for almost 2 weeks now. This is its second extended shop visit this year. It is almost on its last legs. So that's the sad news. At 15 years, 15 to 20 years is the life expectancy. So we're in that range. It was not unexpected, but it's difficult. The crew is out there now using our van to try to do Bookmobile service. So there's no browsing. It's just holds pickup and returns. And once it starts getting colder, it's going to get even less comfortable.
Jackson said that there is currently a new Bookmobile being built and that it should be ready for use by June 2026.
Starting in the new year, they will be building it out by adding the shelves and the electrical and the HVAC and the cabinetry and workstations and everything that turns what's basically a big UPS truck into what is a cozy, friendly library that happens to sit on 4 wheels.
Jackson said that the Bookmobile makes 30 stops every week. The next meeting of the Monroe County Public Library Board of Trustees will be on December 10th. The Bloomington Transportation Commission met on November 17th. City Engineer Andrew Seabour reported on the intersection of East 17th Street and North Eagleson Avenue, where 2 serious crashes occurred within the last 12 months. In both incidents, pedestrians were struck and seriously injured. Seabour updated the commission on the progress that they've made and their plans to make the intersections safer.
Since the crash happened, I guess just wanted to give some updates really on what's happened, what I think will happen in both the near and the long term. So since the most recent crash happened, our Public Works Street Department did put in some in-street pedestrian crossing signs to help raise awareness and visibility of those crossings. We've asked some city crews to do some additional tree trimming just to improve some line of sight for pedestrians that are waiting at the crosswalks. We've also reached out to Duke to do a photometric analysis just to see what the lighting conditions are there at night. There is street lighting, but just to evaluate what is that lighting level, should something more or different be evaluated there. And we have engaged with IU. We were already planning on meeting with them independent of the crashes, but those are just some immediate things that have actually already happened. Looking maybe still near term, I'm still hopeful that maybe before the end of this year, I need to follow up with our public works staff, but essentially wanting to lay out, we have an idea to further improve safety in a near-term way with city crews, essentially trying to do what we would have done with a federally funded capital project, but more near-term, more quick build.
Later in the meeting, Laura Gao, a resident of Bloomington, recommended improvements to the intersection at College Mall Road and Covenanter Drive.
This intersection has no stationary signage with left turn yield to oncoming traffic, left turn yield to pedestrians instructions, as many other intersections do have, such as at 3rd Street and Pete Ellis Drive. As a nearby homeowner who has had family members use this intersection up to 3 times a day, often with Kroger's as the destination, I am aware that drivers cut off and flip off pedestrians crossing in the crosswalk when the pedestrians have the white light to do so. Pedestrians have to halt or wave proactively to drivers to indicate their presence. Some elderly neighbors told me they prefer to jaywalk further to the south rather than use the crosswalk.
Gao described her own experience of being struck by a driver while trying to cross the intersection. She asked that the commission make improvements at the intersection, including repainting and signage.
My city contacts have told me that this is a known dangerous intersection, so I am begging the Transportation Commission to move forward with speedy signage and pavement painting improvements. Besides this one, please consider flashing yellow arrows and stationary yield to pedestrian signage at other known dangerous intersections in this growing city, as well as easily visible white pavement demarcations. That is what you can do.
Seabour responded to the suggestions, explaining that the city's study to update traffic signal timing in Bloomington has been delayed.
For context, maybe some reminders or things that might be forthcoming that maybe I haven't shared before is the city does have an ongoing study to update the traffic signal timing of all of our signalized intersections. That project's been in development for a long time, partially due to our lack of having a filled traffic engineer position, but expecting to make real progress on that early next year because we have filled that position. So yeah, signal timing certainly will be evaluated just as a part of that at this intersection and all intersections throughout the city. And then the comment about flashing yellow arrow, I think just generally speaking, wanting to state that as we're modernizing our signalized intersections and there are left turn lanes, that is, I think, becoming our common go-to and expectation. The trick is, in a location like this, it's not necessarily just an easy thing to swap out a signal. There's a lot of rewiring and actually would need to add another signal because that would be just for the left turn movement. So it's just, I guess my point is that it's not a quick and easy thing just to put in a different signal head.
Commissioner Stephen Volan said that this accident highlights why the commission exists and that more research is needed.
I think that the chief, I regret that he's not in the room, that he was sensitive to criticism here. It's understandable. I think that this is one aspect of the policy that we need to change. I don't expect a police officer to, I kind of don't blame them yet for using the term accident or for treating for not really thinking harder about writing a citation for someone who caused injury. But we're busy measuring fatalities and serious injuries throughout the city. And here is an example of a serious injury that we have direct testimony from someone who said that my life was changed for this. And we hear from Mr. Drummy that, it all but doesn't go recorded so that it can be cited in court later. It's a thorny problem. We can't expect the chief alone to solve it, and we shouldn't. It's literally why we're here. And so I think that's why this is an excellent inquiry that really needs to be at least researched more. I just don't know what I'd recommend in that second case, except more research at the moment. Although I'm certainly open to entertaining any motion for resolution to that end.
Commissioner Hopi Stasberg moved to approve a petition that would examine the intersection and change it to align with other greenways in town, including added signage.
I heard a number of calls for infrastructure improvements at the intersection. I think we should take those collectively and then leave it to our staff to come up with final recommendations there. One way to bundle them together is to think about it as part of our greenway network, which is a higher comfort, higher safety part of our street system that is designed for vulnerable road users. I think we don't want to always respond to every case with like, oh, there was a crash. We should do better at that intersection because we have a lot of crashes. But this is a case where we are trying to have a system that is safer for our vulnerable road users, and this intersection, I think, has failed us. So the petition I would propose is to have the staff revisit the College and Covenanter intersection as part of our greenways network and bring it up, review the standards and bring it up to our safety standards for our greenway system.
The commission approved the motion unanimously. The Bloomington Redevelopment Commission met on November 17th. During the meeting, the commissioners denied all public offering bids for 3 blocks of the Hopewell East development. Commissioner Dana Kerr said that the submitted proposals were not adequate for the project.
The bids that did come in were not ones that would be able to be completed based on limitations of funding and such. And so there also it became apparent that that public offering wasn't necessarily realistic to that project. So there's going to be a change in direction on how to go with that. But one thing that we need to do is just to reject those bids that we received at the public offerings that are in the resolution, and then we can move forward and start evaluating other alternatives for that area.
Commissioner Anna Killian Hansen asked if there was a timeline to share with the public.
I don't know that we have a specific timeline. Of course, we're trying to get all areas of Hopewell going as quickly as possible, and so it's quite the undertaking right now on the south, but we're getting there. I would anticipate having a new offering sometime in 26.
Next, Treasurer Jessica McClellan spoke to the commissioners about Resolution 25-135 regarding the Redevelopment Commission's annual spending plan.
We are presenting to you for the second time the RDC spending plan that has to be approved by the RDC and submitted to the DLGF. And this outlines in very broad categories what the RDC is going to spend money on in the upcoming year. Most of the expenses are in, what's that category called? Most of the expenses are in capital expenditures, and that includes, I believe, over $9 million in bond debt service payments. Oh no, debt payments is up above in A. And capital expenditures, that comes from kind of an estimate of what was spent over the last 2 years in things such as Hopewell, sort of very traditional RDC infrastructure expenses. So That is where the bulk of your spending will come from next year. That's what we're planning on.
Commission member Randy Cassidy asked about the flexibility of the plan.
Based on this funding, the spending plan, that gives us the adequate flexibility to maneuver in any of these Hopewell or other areas that we have, so we don't have any to come back and realign this spending plan. We have adequate flexibility within this.
You are correct.
Okay.
If we wanted to amend the spending plan, if something came up, we would bring the spending plan back to you in the year in which you want to do that spending, and that is completely fine if you ever in the future want to amend a spending plan.
Okay. Is that something that we would then have to present to DLGF in regards to?
And we would just send it up to DLGF. Yep. As soon as you sign it, then we would send it up and we would just continue on our way.
The resolution passed unanimously. The Monroe County Community School Corporation Board of Trustees met on November 18th. Chief Financial Officer Matthew Irwin gave the quarterly financial report detailing current progress and future projections.
This is the slide that shows what it is that the school corporation was facing as of December of 2024. And so as I try to orient you to what you're looking at on the slide, is the numbers inside of the bar, inside of the colors, that's the fund balance of the respective fund. The number at the top or the bottom is the cumulative total of those fund balances. So the ones that are at the top that are showing there above the zero, those are places where there was a cumulative total that was a positive fund total. The ones at the bottom shows a negative. And if you follow the trend all the way out to 2028, you see the high-paced decreasing cash balances across the funds, and as it gets all the way out to 2028, as much as over $30 million in deficit. So therein lies, it just kind of shows that quick reference point of what the school corporation was facing, why the two-year strategy was enacted.
Later, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources and Operations, Jeffrey Henderson, discussed potential uses for the former Herald Times building. MCCSC purchased the building 3 years ago.
Those include operational efficiencies that would include large group training and meeting space, warehouse for materials, equipment storage, additional bus parking, office space that might involve the relocation of MCCSC departments to a more central location, more easily accessible by parents. Services that were discussed were a dedicated boardroom, a welcome center for families that might also include a centralized enrollment point, and some support services that most directly support students and families, potentially being centrally located. So there was kind of a one-stop shop for a family who was moving to Bloomington, enrolling in MCCSC schools. They could go to that welcome center and have access to multiple departments all in one location that are currently spread throughout the corporation. Currently, we are utilizing the property for material and equipment storage.
Board President April Hennessy said that the building is primarily being used for storage space and bus parking at the moment. She said that if there are any new ideas for the building's use, the school corporation would need to find alternative spaces for the overflow storage.
Those things would have to move somewhere. Now, whether they can be moved into existing buildings or we'd have to find storage space of some sort, we don't know. That stuff needs to be examined. And then, yes, there is the cost of that, right? Because the cost of maintaining the building as it is in this very moment is not extraordinarily high, though we know that there are probably some things that need to happen, like the roof needs to be done and HVAC system needs to be updated. So there will be costs affiliated with, if we decided to keep the building and not do any massive repair or renovation to it, there would still be costs to maintain and upkeep the building.
The next MCCSC meeting will take place on December 16th. The Bloomington City Council met on November 19th, where they heard an amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance that would allow owner-occupied homes to rent out up to 3 individual bedrooms. Deputy Clerk Susan Stoll explained the legislation.
Ordinance 2025-41 to amend Title 20, the Unified Development Ordinance of the Bloomington Municipal Code regarding use table amendment, single room occupancy. The synopsis is this amendment modifies Table 03-1, allowed use table, use specific standards, as well as several definitions within the Unified Development Ordinance to allow for the use single-room occupancy as directed through Council Resolution 2024-25. This ordinance is in accordance with Indiana Code 36-7-4-600.
Development Services Manager Eric Grulich said that this amendment would remove owner occupancy restrictions in the city code.
So as kind of prefaced here, this is a response to a council resolution directing us to investigate changes to the Unified Development Ordinance regarding the use of residential rooming house to incorporate potential new use, single room occupancy, paying attention to various items that were outlined in that resolution. Some of those were making this an allowed use in some capacity in multiple zoning districts, removing the owner occupancy restriction, and looking at ways that we can promote this use within the community and allow this in lots of different locations and zoning districts.
Councilmember Dave Rollo said that he has concerns about the proposal. He said in his view, the city should err on the side of caution.
What I'm concerned about is the potential for families to occupy, say, 5 individuals, 2 parents and 3 children or something, to occupy a single room. That's possible because we're not going to regulate children. So I think to err on the side of caution, we should limit it to 1. The other potential is that, I think we already have a problem with owner occupancy in our community, the availability of single-family homes. Airbnbs are taking them off the market. Private equity firms are purchasing them. We're adding another incentive here for the purchase of a home that's very lucrative, that then could essentially double the occupancy, charge rent, cover the mortgage payment. And I think that is completely conceivable. If this was not a university town, it probably wouldn't matter. But that is the context we're living in right now.
Rollo introduced an amendment to limit rentals to 1 adult per bedroom, which he said would prevent overcrowding. Grulich outlined some challenges to this amendment.
The challenge with that is it really just kind of puts us back to literally exactly the situation where we're at now, where you can have 1 unit, 3 bedrooms, 1 person in a bed, and so we haven't really done anything. So that I'm just pointing out that would be the implication, obviously, of that amendment, but that would be for the council, obviously, to decide if that's something they want to pursue.
Rollo's amendment failed. Ultimately, the council voted 7-2 in favor of the ordinance, with council members Andy Ruff and Dave Rollo voting no. And that is all for Cats Week. Thank you for joining us. For Cats and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.
Bye.